Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everybody, and welcome to Pangolin, the conservation podcast. The show dedicated to exploring and amplifying the world's underappreciated conservation stories. The stories that inspire me, and I hope will inspire you too. I'm your host, Jack Baker, and today I am joined once again by the absolutely fabulous Robi Watkinson to discuss his experiences across the continent of Africa. Last time we chatted about all the things that we should never, ever, ever, ever tell our parents, like being chased by painted hunting dogs and hanging out the side of a plane and getting too close to crocodiles and all sorts of stuff. This time we're back to chat much more about, wholesome, inspirational, responsible things that parents can enjoy, like education and what inspires us and stuff like that. Much more responsible, Mum, if you're listening. So we talk about the Masters in Conservation Biology that Robi is studying in Cape Town. We talk about the importance of diversity in conservation and the power that bringing voices from around the world kind of together in one place to have conversations has. Because both of us have experienced it and both of us have, I feel like, grown so much from it, and it's just brilliant. So we talk about that. We also chat about some of the different underappreciated species which Robi is fascinated by, and this includes a very, very elusive orchid, which, it's the first thing that happened to that orchid when in the story that Robi tells is interesting. So look forward to that. And we talk about the incredibly charming yet petite Cape Leopard, which is a bit smaller than perhaps you would expect. Finally, Robi shares some advice on the importance of looking after your mental health in the field of conservation, and honestly, I could not endorse what he says more, so I'm really excited for you to hear all of that as well, because yes, we need to look after ourselves, because this field can be a lot sometimes, and so all of this conversation is so important and so needed, and I'm so glad he brought it up because it's fantastic. And yes, I loved having the conversation with him. So, having built all of that up, I will let the episode play, and without further ado, let's get started. But no, I guess that kind of also brings us to, I suppose, the reason why you are in Cape Town now, not just to hunt otters and see if you can find cool mustelids hiding around, but you're also kind of moved there to do a degree in, what was it, you said,
Yes.
conservation biology, and
Yeah, conservation biology.
I guess my question was like that I wanted to ask about, because obviously degrees are different wherever you do them. Like, based in the UK, there was probably a couple options you could have done. You could have gone anywhere in
Mhm.
the world to do a degree in conservation biology. So what was it that drew you to South Africa specifically? What was it that made you want to kind of go there, and what did you hope to kind of gain from that sort of experience?
I did know I wanted to leave the UK because after 4 years of undergrad in zoology,
Mhm.
it was becoming quite clear that the conservationists, like the establishment in the UK, is not particularly innovative. I didn't think the rewilding movement is doing some really interesting and really positive and really progressive new ideas,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of lack of funding. There's a lot of opposition, and I felt that actually, if I wanted to do the meaningful work that I really wanted to do, I thought I'd have to find somewhere where the conservation environment was more open to new ideas. Not that I've
Mhm.
got any new ideas, but do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
more broad and growing. And the conservation field in the UK is quite saturated, and it's quite saturated with a very kind of dogmatic
Mhm.
way of thinking. That is changing as
Mhm.
rewilding becomes more mainstream, but I thought, well, I'm not going to wait for that. So um, yeah, I knew I wanted to do conservation biology because as I'm sure so many people in our field are, we start wanting to work with animals because we don't want to work with people. And then we get an undergrad degree and we realize, oh God, actually, if we want to save the animals, it's much more about people than animals.
Mm-hmm.
And conservation biology is the interface between wildlife and humans. So I essentially just looked around for a really good conservation biology degree, and I was looking for somewhere where I could do field work with species that I loved, and ecologies that I loved, and people that I loved. And so the Fitzpatrick Institute for African Ornithology, it's a very grand sounding name, is a research institute at UCT, the University of Cape Town, and they have this. So they're obviously predominantly ornithology focused, but they run a conservation biology course, and they look for like what really attracted me to it is it wasn't just a conservation biology course for South Africans.
Mm-hmm.
They really deliberately try and get people from as many different places as possible, and that's what I was looking for. I was looking for I want to learn from my peers. I want to learn new ideas
Mm-hmm.
from my peers and my course mates. So I think I'm the only Brit on the course. Yeah, there's 13 of us. We've got a Kenyan, 2 Zambians, 4 South Africans, a Dutch Danish guy. Oh god, there's only 13 of us. Why can I not do this? A couple of Americans, um, and a Ghanaian. So it was everything I thought would be brilliant about conservation biology, getting experiences and viewpoints and cultural values about wildlife from as many different places as possible, whacking them in a big pot together and seeing what comes out. And then I didn't think I was going to get in at all. And when I got the notification that I was getting in, I was very close to booking a flight to somewhere in Latin America and just losing myself for a year. And then I was like, oh God, now I've got to move to South Africa. So that was very stressful. But yeah, so that's why I chose UCT.
Mm-hmm.
I have absolutely no regrets. If there are any other people who are thinking of a similar career path, I cannot recommend the Fitz highly enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think what I want to gain from it is I want to work in this part of the world for quite a while, and really get some boots on the ground experience beyond what I've already got, which isn't that much. And then I want to learn enough that I can bring it back to the UK and and join in with the predator reintroductions in the UK. I don't want to die without seeing at least one functional predator return. And so, yeah, if I think, if I can work with leopards or caracals here and gain an understanding of the movement of these species, because that's what I really love. I love movement ecology and distribution maps and everything. And if I can gain that understanding, I can then bring that back to the UK and say, look, I'm not saying we're going to do it with lions, but there's a little links we can do, and don't worry, it's chill. There will be difficulties, but we have the knowledge now to get past that.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, that was a very long-winded answer, but yeah, that's just where I'm at the moment.
No, it was a good answer because it situated me back in my mind of like that is exactly the benefit of my like when I did my masters. I was like living vicariously through yours. I was like, yes, that is what makes doing a masters special, is having those voices of like everyone is interested in the same thing, but it tends
Yes.
to be like so like my undergrad was dominated by it was me, a lot of Scottish people, because for people who don't know, in Scotland, like if you go to a Scottish university and you are Scottish, you get a free placement at university. So there was a lot of Scottish voices, which is not a problem. Like it was great to like have
Yeah,
people
yeah.
who knew what
Yeah,
I was talking
absolutely.
about and places that I was referencing. And then it was like that, and then you'd have like a big group of maybe American students, a big group of Chinese students, and that was maybe the diversity of the course.
Yeah.
And then what was nice was then when I came back for my master's, it was people who were really interested and really wanted to be there. And so the course was far more diverse. And so we had people from a girl from India, we had a girl from Sweden, some from the UK, some from Hong Kong, some from Zimbabwe, some from Bangladesh. And that was actually when the most, like, I feel like I learned more from having those people in the room and discussing the topics than I did from the readings and I did from the like,
Yeah.
because just having that diversity of voices to challenge each
Yeah.
other or be like, oh, actually, I think this is the best way of doing it, or just made the experience so much more. So I'm so jealous that you
Yeah.
get to go through that experience now. I get like,
Well,
if
if
I
you
could go
fancy another
back,
masters.
I was going to say, I was like, I could. A
PhD,
master's
you know?
during a PhD, though, could be a
Yeah,
challenging
well,
one. Just do them both
but
at the same
it's
time.
it's a really, as you say, it's a really beautiful way of learning, I think.
Hmm.
So we a really good example of this. We had a big debate. We had like a formal debate on
Hmm.
whether to legalize the trade in ivory and rhino horn.
Hmm.
And in I think in the West,
Hmm.
this is a very non-divisive issue. Everyone's like, no, you can't do that. It's unethical, and those are really beautiful animals. Getting African perspectives on this, as well as European perspective on this, and American perspective of this, was fascinating.
Hmm.
I'm very conscious of that inherent bias in my upbringing, so I tend to actually, listen to what people have to say first, and then pick a position. But it was very fascinating with South Africa, which has a long and very strong and very positive history of sustainable wildlife use and sustainable harvest and resource use,
Hmm.
versus the Kenyan, who was, and Kenya has never or has banned ivory and rhino hunting, who was so staunchly against, and then everyone, the kind of the Zambians and the gradient in between, and then the Americans coming in with what information almost gets diluted across the Atlantic. The same for the Brits,
Hmm.
a Brit, me, and it was a really fascinating debate.
Hmm.
And those nuances which you are just lost in a global conversation on social media, all of
Hmm.
those nuances are lost. The fact that Botswana has too many elephants, completely lost whenever this is brought up on Instagram or Twitter or
Hmm.
whatever. And so it was a beautiful debate where everyone was just like, wow. And at the end of it, we were like, God, we don't know what to do.
Hmm. Yep, and like that's the thing of like you kind of walk away with all these ideas and problems and things in your head, and the good
Mm.
thing is that if you have the right group of people, though, you always walk away, even if there's been an argument or an exchange of views or whatever
Oh,
it
and there
is.
was.
With topics like that, there would be, and there was topics like wind farms we would discuss in the context of Scotland, and whether you should plant this on top of something that there is a seabed there, which a particular type of
Yeah.
mussel or seagrass or whatever it is was growing, like.
Yeah.
So those debates would happen, and it would come down to those kind of really like core what are your values type questions. And if you can walk away from those things though and still be like, I would die for anyone in that class because I like have so much
Yeah.
time for all of their perspectives and opinions,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
that's the relationship you want to have, and that's the most I find the most productive I think I've ever been in my life in terms of like coming up with ideas and chatting and debating was during that. So yeah, I'm very jealous, and it's going to be like, yeah, it's such
Come
a
visit. I'll
fulfilling.
introduce you to everyone. It's
I
it's a hoot.
I will. I have to say, like recently, I seeing your pictures having since you moved there, and then also my my mum is a big fan of Love Island, which is on at the moment
Ah.
in Cape Town.
Oh, is it?
It is in Cape Town, and so
Blimey,
I,
I've escaped that. I haven't set up any of my streaming. I've deliberately not got a VPN. I'm living very much solely on YouTube. So I
oh.
didn't know it was in town actually.
Well, it is, and it's the disaster for me. Sadly, is that I like just sat there every night watching these people going, why do they get to be there and not me? Like I
Why aren't
want
you
to be
looking for
there.
otters?
Yeah, why are you in this villa? You should be out looking at the lions and giraffes and zebras and all the other little weird things, the aardvarks, whatever it is that you can find. Like go and find them because they're fat. Like, so no, people should not invite me to Africa or any African country because I
I'm
will
serious.
turn
Come
up.
along. You're always welcome. You'd be more than welcome to crash it. Explore everything. It'll be great fun.
Yeah. Oh, I will turn up. So that I'll
Good,
hope. Yeah.
good. It's exciting.
Oh no, but that's so yeah. It's so fascinating and so like interesting and like I guess something that aside from I guess the university experience that must be kind of great for you is that like all of these experiences that you've done outside of university will also have been learning experiences, and I think as we were kind of talking about, when you have these perspectives from different countries and different backgrounds coming together, I feel like often everybody leaves learning something, and there's this often this perception that like, oh, as the West, if you were to group us in this way, as the UK, as this thing, we have when we go and do conservation work, we are always teaching people and we're always kind of educating and doing this stuff. But actually,
Yeah, and just,
you kind of learn. Have found whenever I've visited somewhere and talked to somebody about conservation, I've learned far more than I could possibly ever probably teach them and like try and talk to them about. So like I wondered like through all of your experiences, like what are some of those lessons that I guess you've learned like from
I
people in the field. Yeah.
it puts it into I do find it puts the UK into perspective, because I'm here, and the majority of my course mates are African,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm kind of gushing. I'm like, oh wow, that's you're so lucky to have your wildlife and X, Y,
Mm-hmm.
and Z. And they are utterly fascinated by Britain and Britain's ecology. And I'm fascinated by Britain's ecology, but the idea that someone who has so much more functional ecology would be fascinated with what little we have. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
was explaining the fact that Scotland used to be covered in rainforests, and I was explaining the land exclosure and the red deer problem and everything. And my course mates were fascinated, and I was like, "Oh, wow! Actually, this is really interesting."
Mm-hmm.
I've just always kind of dismissed it. So that was good. That's a really nice thing to think about, actually. The other thing is you just never know how. What's that? Oh, it's a really pretentious saying. It's like you're like, the wiser you are, the more you realize you don't know. Something like that. I've seen it in
Oh,
like a
it's
movie or something.
that feels like
Yeah.
something that would be on a sign somewhere. That feels, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying that, but the more you learn, the more you realize there is so much more
Mm-hmm.
than you will ever know. It's really nice to be with lecturers who have been doing African ecology for some of them for 60 years or more, and you're just like, you have forgotten more about African ecology than I will ever know. But I think there are some core things that I would take away, and the first one is what actually my friend Kate Sheridan told me, is that animals don't read your textbooks.
Mm-hmm.
You will see them in places they shouldn't be. You will see them outside of their ranges. You will see them at the wrong time of day. You will see them in the wrong place, in the wrong habitat. And they did not read your textbook, and they are not going to, and they don't care. So you're sitting there thinking, oh, we're not going to see that. And then it walks past, and you're like, wait, is that a mistake? And you're like, no, just natural variation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to keep in mind. Um, the other one I think I spoke about a little earlier is that conservation is much more about people than it is about animals.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about human wildlife conflict, it's not actually human wildlife conflict, it's human conflict wrapped up in the cloak of wildlife. Um, yeah, and I've already spoken about the mismatch between living with dangerous animals in the West or in East and Southern Africa, and so I'm not going to talk about that again. But the other thing I am the last lesson, the last thing I'm going to really stress is that conservation should be directed by the people who live alongside the animals,
Mm-hmm.
and by science. It shouldn't be directed by public opinion in places where people don't live alongside these animals. Science is really key. You need really strong and rigorous, testable scientific oversight, and where that comes from is a whole other kettle of worms. Um, but conservation should be led by the people. I think it is. It should be inherently democratic. It's not currently, and historically, it certainly has not been. But I think if it's going to work, it needs to be. And there isn't really anyone better to look after wildlife than the people who live by it. And in an African context, that goes back 2 million years, if you're being generous, with the emergence of our genus. 200,000 years for our species. Like humans are an indigenous species in the African continent, and to consider wildlife conservation without them, you're missing it. You're missing the point. Um, so yeah, those are the lessons that I've learned so far. There will probably be many more. In fact, I know there will.
Yep.
But yeah, those are the things that I would stress the most, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, yeah, it's in my very scientific brain, what I was picturing throughout most of those lessons was when you were talking about animals not following the rules, was the very hilarious scene from The Simpsons where, have you seen where they go to Africa and the
I
hippo comes out the
haven't.
egg? There's a like, so Lisa is
What?
talking all about Lisa, the brain, like smarty pants kid, is always
Yeah.
talking about oh, like let's talk about wildlife. Like, oh, look at this, like the next thing, and then like they see a hippo come out of an egg, and she's like, hippos don't come out of eggs, and Homer's like, what did you just see, Lisa? What did you just see? And that's an extreme example, but like
It's a
it is,
good point,
animals
though.
will do what animals are gonna do, and it's like, yeah, that's
It's a
yeah.
really good point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hilariously made, and perhaps not perhaps scientifically made, but made nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it's all, I think, like really core, like key lessons, which I feel like are really interesting and really like good ones, I guess, like to get people thinking about like the way that they view wildlife beyond, and it applies, I guess, beyond Africa as well, not just like within all contexts. That's something to really get people thinking, and I really appreciate actually all of those lessons. They're very, very good.
Hmm.
I don't know.
It was put into context quite actually when I was talking to my friends about the ecology of Scotland. It was put into context quite neatly for me. It's okay. Just to use the elephant ivory example,
Yeah,
it should be Kenyans, South Africans, Botswanans, X, Y, and Z who are deciding on this international trade.
yeah,
The scientist in me has an opinion, and that's fine. But it's not my. It shouldn't be my choice.
hmm,
And if you're sitting there thinking, actually, no, it should be. Imagine how you would feel if someone who didn't live alongside red deer and grouse in Scotland started telling you how to manage that, or started telling you about otter conservation. It goes both ways, and I think that gets forgotten as well. Um, the science is important. The people are also important.
yeah, and that's the thing that I guess like I'm trying to. It's been on my mind a lot recently because of the PhD that I'm doing is basically, without going into a huge long spiel about that, is to do with like the impact of a UK based conservation organization abroad, and whether,
Oh, interesting.
and like,
Okay.
yeah, and how, like, how does that kind of, how do we work abroad, and how also like is the work that it's the Royal Botanic Garden Edinburgh I'm working with, is their work
Yeah.
impactful, and is it
Yeah.
impactful in the right way? And so it's something that I've been thinking about a
Yes.
lot, of like this kind of, okay, well, maybe we are doing brilliant work, and maybe the number of critically endangered species is increasing, but are we stopping and asking the people who we're working around? Are we kind of equipping them
Yeah.
to help us, or are they leading us? Are we kind of claiming credit for something that we're in fact not doing?
Yeah.
Like, what is what are all of those little relationships that go on that aren't necessarily always documented in terms of like scientific publications and things like that sort of element? So when it
Yeah.
comes to the
That
human,
kind of what do they call it? Parachute conservation.
yes, that's
Is
exactly.
that what they call it?
Yes, where you kind of drop in and you go, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
brilliant. We,
Nice.
yeah, this is great. We'll fix this," and then you're off again without actually building a
Yeah.
relationship, knowing what's going on, and like, yeah,
Yeah.
which is also a debate I've been thinking about in my head of like, how do you in a PhD that's 3 years about not being a parachute conservation organization, not
Not be a
parachute
yeah.
conservation? So like,
it's
it's a real.
it can feel overwhelming, I think, at times,
Mhm,
but I think that's the burden of our generation in science.
mhm,
And on the one hand, you can look at it as a burden. I suppose emotionally it is. It's quite a hard thing to deal with. But
mhm,
on the other hand, I think we need to look at it as an opportunity
mhm.
and quite a good opportunity to at least behave in a way that potentially people who came before us in our field did not.
Yes.
Um,
Yes,
so
and hopefully along the way encourage those of them who still remain within the field to maybe
yes,
go,
get their
oh,
act together.
yes. I was maybe not going to say it like that, but that's exactly what I would have meant. And
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I'll say it.
yeah,
Sod it. I don't
yeah,
care.
yeah. That's pretty much exactly that. So no, it's and yeah, it's really interesting. I think to, yeah, really bring the human aspect in and think about it, and hopefully like we'll get a lot of people thinking about that, which maybe they hadn't done
I hope
before.
so.
So I'm,
Yeah,
I'm
I
glad
hope so.
listeners go away and think about that, please.
It's your homework.
Yeah, yeah. And if you could write a 2,000 word essay on your thoughts about it by the publication of the next episode, no, no, it's fascinating, and like I guess like we've throughout this conversation touched on like so many aspects of that are big questions, right? Like there's so many lessons you've learned, there's so many big questions, there's so many things that you see, like so many interests in terms of research that you have, like what do you see as like the next thing? Like what is your like goal in the long run of like if someone was to go like next step, dream, like what work would you want to do next? What would that be?
Yeah. Okay. So I have to do a fieldwork thesis. I can't wait. I have to do doing a fieldwork thesis which should start in September. So I need to have it all wrapped up, and that'll run from September to February. So that is sort of the next thing, and I want to do it in movement ecology of either carnivores or keystone species.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping maybe to go back up to Loangwa, see the carnivores up there, just because I'm a slut for Loangwa. I don't know if I can say that. Is that yeah, anyway?
It's fine. It's fine.
I'm obsessed with the Loangwa. Or potentially rhino conservation in South Africa is a very interesting field because it ties in a lot of human rights issues, especially when it comes to poaching and how you mitigate that and how you deal with that. So yeah, movement ecology, carnivores and keystone species. Just because I like the idea of there's these little nodes in these trophic cascades where if you put a bit of pressure on there, it alleviates a lot of pressure on the rest. It does sound like I'm a taxonomic chauvinist. I'm actually not. I love the little things, but I think if we're going to be really tactical about how we tackle these big ecosystem level issues, get the rhinos right, get the elephants right, get the carnivores right, there will be cascading impacts. Get the ecosystem engineers in the bottle, you'll be fine. Well, not you'll be fine, you will still be fucked, but we'll have done a bit of the lead work. In terms of a personal little thing, the African finfoot is a weird looking bird, and it's not an eagle and it's not a big ostrich, and it doesn't get a lot of attention, and it is one of the little it's very much one of the little things, and we know basically nothing about it. It looks like a cormorant, a rail, and a duck had a love child in a weird. If biologically that was possible, it looks like that. It's evolutionarily distinct. There's only like one other thing like it, which is like a finfoot in India and another one in the Americas. So there's only 3 of them, and they're really distinct. And even in that grouping, all 3 of those are really evolutionarily distinct, and we know basically nothing about it. And I want to see one. I want to go and find one.
I'm looking it up now in case you think, oh, he's bored and looking at his phone.
No, I thought
I'm looking it up because I'm intrigued. This is not going to show well on camera for you, but
that's the one.
That one?
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, that is it. That is it.
That is that's a handsome boy right there. That is.
It is. I mean, finding them is going to be bloody difficult. They are really. It's one of those ones where like hardcore birders will locate one and not tell anyone else, so they'll like keep it to themselves. So I'm just going to try and find some birders who know about it, get them drunk, and get them to tell me where to find the finfoot.
Yeah, I love that. I love the like birder community that would be like, well, it's on our list. We've ticked it off. We've seen it. But,
exactly.
We don't want to make it too easy for all you young up and coming birders. We you have to get out there, traipse through wherever you need to traipse through to find it as well. No, that's
exactly.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good set of goals. I feel like to have in terms of like a nice personal like animal related. I need to find something, but then also in terms of like in project wise, it's a good one, and it's like I wouldn't say you were biased towards the big things. I feel like that's come across nicely with the finfoot example of like you've managed to balance it out there.
I get that a lot in the FITS, to be honest, because obviously it's an ornithological institute, so most of the people there are hardcore birders, and I'm taught they're like, what about the leopards, guys? And they're like, oh god, not another bloody mammal person.
Yep.
But I do have very broad interests. I just
Well, I'll give you another example. I'll give you another chance to demonstrate that.
Okay.
Because a question that I've asked everybody this season, and so now it's your turn to answer. And I'm going to put pressure on now. Every single person I've asked so far has said something different. So I'm hoping to continue that trend today. I'm not going to tell you what anyone else said, but I'm going to hope to continue that trend. The question is, if you could shine a spotlight onto any underappreciated, underloved African species, what would it be and why?
Okay. Right. Well, see, I'm not going to pick the finfoot because I've already spoken about the finfoot. I am going to pick. What am I going to do? Okay. Oh crap! Now you put me on the spot. I was sitting pretty happy. I was like, yeah, Cape Clawless otters, finfoot's great. Okay, right. So there is. Okay, here we go. So one of my lecturers is a guy called Dr. Callan Cohen. He's the head of, I think he's the founder of BirdLife Africa. Anyway, he's a very cool guy. He basically knows everything about everything. And when it was it 2021? He discovered an individual of a species of orchid called Disa forficaria.
Okay.
It is one of the rarest plants in the world. I think it's been discovered. How many is it? Is it like 18 times since like 1900?
That's impressive.
Just like one individual each time?
Rare. Yeah.
And it hadn't been seen since I think 2000. And in 2021, he found one. and it's this tiny. It's a very unassuming brown orchid, and he found one. And so from 2021 to now, that's the only one that we know in existence. And as he was observing it, a beetle landed on the orchid and ejaculated on it.
That's not where I thought that was going at all. Okay.
And so orchids have a habit of sexually deceiving pollinators. So they will mimic the hormones, and they'll mimic the appearance, typically of wasps, bees, ants. We know this happens in the Mediterranean. We know it happens in Australia with wasps. Never has it been documented in Africa, and never has it been documented with a beetle as the deceived thing. So he was monitoring this one plant, one individual, and he saw this interaction happen. And just like that, that's a new thing for science, which had never been known before. No one knew what pollinated this plant. And he started monitoring it. He got the chemical compounds to try and resynthesize the hormone. Came back, plant was gone. Just like a mound of earth. I know, it's like a murder mystery. So, maybe it was an orchid poacher, which is a thing down here, or maybe it was a porcupine. But when he then synthesized this pheromone in the lab, put it out in the bush, and all of these beetles flocked to it. So the beetles are clearly ravenous for this pheromone. And by then looking at the pollen that the beetles were carrying, he can prove that there are at least 2 other of these tiny, tiny brown orchid flowers somewhere out there.
You just need to find them. Just needs to
find them. And you're looking for a flower about that big, and it's brown in South Africa. And there's 2 of them. We know.
Yeah, good luck. And that will end up being your end of year project. Be like, go and find these. Off you go.
Oh God, no. I actually couldn't. But I think if I had to, on a weird, underrepresented, I mean, there's like 3 photos of them. I think that would be it. It's it's just weird and cool. And, I think we think animals are the craziest things in nature, but I didn't, if you saw Green Planet and if you hear about this orchid, that no. The plants are doing things we cannot even conceive. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yep. I've said this so many times to people that if plants moved faster, we would all be screwed.
It'd be terrifying.
We'd all be like, it would be a
Venus
disaster.
flytraps, like Day of the Triffids.
Yep. If they were bigger and faster, humans would not be a thing. Most animals probably wouldn't stand a chance. So no, and I like that. I was not expecting a plant from you. There's certain guests where I've been like anticipating plants, and you were not one of them. So I'm impressed.
What did you think I was going to do?
Well, I
don't
know.
I was going to do like a leopard or something?
I was like, I feel like if he goes with leopard, it's not really underappreciated. So we'll let him have it.
I was close to doing the Cape Leopard, which is a unique and small subspecies native to the Western Cape around Cape Town, which I might maybe do my research on. And it's like half the size of a savanna leopard. And it lives in the winelands. And the idea of studying leopards in the winelands is quite appealing to me. Yeah. But I thought, no, you know what? They're leopards, but no, Forficaria. Yeah, that's the one.
I mean that's a nice. Yeah, I feel like okay. I love how you snuck. You were like, I was thinking about doing this animal, and then described it like, ha. I'm sneaking in a second one there. No, but like it's a good one. So yeah, and I guess that kind of leads nicely onto the final question, which I ask everybody, which is of course, if you had advice, if someone's listening and is feeling inspired by anything you've said throughout the podcast, is there any advice that you would give them to kind of, if they want to get more involved in conservation, what would your kind of advice be?
Do you know, can I spin that question on its head and actually say what I wish someone had told me?
Yes.
And it's that I think if you're going to be serious about getting into conservation, you also have to be serious about prioritizing and taking care of your mental health, because it's a sea of bad news out there. Planet's on fire, biodiversity's going down the drain, local conservation efforts might hold it back, but not for long. And it gets you. And all of your lecturers, if you study it in uni or whatever, will end every module and you'll come out of every module thinking, God, we're fucked. But the thing is, it is still worth getting into.
Yep.
But I think if you are serious about getting into it, please take the time, figure out how to, if you don't know already, figure out how to take care of your mental health. See your friends, talk to your friends, engage with your emotions. It's really important, because you can burn out, and there is a lot of bad news,
Mhm.
and it can seem overwhelming, and it seems like we've got no future, and we all have to wrestle with that in our own way. But you don't have to do it on your own. Don't forget your friends. Don't forget where you came from. And I think the flip side of that is there's this kind of narrative, this trope that you have to sacrifice everything to make change. You can't have a car. You must always use public transport. You have to go 100% vegan. You have to yada 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 yada. That's not the case. No one is asking that of you, even though social media might make it look like it is. No one in the field is asking for that of you. You do what you can. Don't jeopardize your mental health, because you're not gonna save the pangolins if you can't get out of bed in the morning.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of advice I could give about how I got to where I am, but actually, I wish I would have spared myself a lot of burnout if someone had told me that.
Mhm.
And there's no weakness in that. We think David Attenborough and Jane Goodall and Steve Irwin, they're just like, they're having a great time, yeah. But no, I guarantee you, they have bad days, and they figure out how to deal with it, and they look after their mental health. And there is no weakness in that. There is no shame in that. Everyone in conservation will admit that that is something that they have to prioritize. Yeah. And the last thing is, which I did mention earlier as well. It doesn't matter what you look like. Doesn't matter where you came from.
Mhm.
Even though it might seem on social media like the field is fairly what do you call it, monotypic. That's not the case, or maybe it is the case, but we're changing that. So yeah, don't let that get you down either.
Mhm.
Sorry, that was two, I know, but yeah.
I mean, if it had been two awful pieces of advice, then I would have been like, oh no. But they were two very fundamentally excellent pieces of advice. So I'm not going to
Oh,
be
good, I'm
like,
glad.
oh, well, you shouldn't have talked about diversity. That was just wasting all of our time. Like, what? What were you expecting me to say? They're like, oh, I can't believe that.
But I'm not.
Can't believe it.
I'm not throwing it in there because it's a buzzword at the minute. Like,
Mhm.
actually, you're not. You have to consider it, because it's important. This is. I know we think it's about animals, but this is a people field
Mhm.
as much as any other. And yeah, you gotta look after your brain, and you gotta look after your heart, and you've got to make sure you're healthy enough to fight the good fight. And it is a good fight, and maybe we're going to lose it, but hey, at least we fought it. God, that's really dramatic, isn't it?
That was like that's a monologue from something. I don't know what it was, but it was very Shakespearean. Like,
Oh,
we
thank you.
will.
Yeah, I was channeling Macbeth or whatever.
Yeah,
Maybe not Macbeth.
that's going to be bad luck on the podcast now. I don't know.
Fuck.
Is it?
Sorry about
Is
that.
that bad luck? Is it bad luck for theatre and podcasting, or just theatre? I don't know. Well, it's fine. It's fine. That's maybe. I don't even know what the podcast equivalent would be.
Joe Rogan.
Yes, that is. There we go. That's exactly it. And on that note, and on that celebration of diversity, and then curse.
Yeah, well, swings and roundabouts.
Yeah. It is unfortunately time for us to wrap up our conversation. I've had such a good time, and it's been fantastic talking to you. And I'm sure all of the listeners will want to kind of keep up to date with you and go and listen to podcasts or see your films that you've kind of helped produce and all that sort of stuff, because they will also have been interested in everything that you've been saying. So I always like to say, just a little bit of self-promo time. Where should people go? Where should people check you out?
If you want to do visually, I am on Instagram, and I am at Robi_Watkinson_wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty simple. If you search Robi Watkinson, I will also come up. So yeah, you can find me. So I do all my filmmaking and photographies on that, and I also post a lot of paleontology memes, because why not? So be prepared. And if you want to listen to the podcasts and the films, we are on Spotify as the Zoology Ramblings podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And we are also on Spotify for the Biome Project podcast. But Biome, we have a YouTube as well, because it's a little bit more of a video podcast. So if you tap in the Biome Project podcast on YouTube, we will be there. We've also got a website, but you can sort of go to it through YouTube. So yeah, that's me. Come and say hello, and I will inundate you with paleontology memes, but that's not going to change. So
No, and I don't think if the people should not complain about that, because I feel
Absolutely
like
not.
most conservation people at some point in their lives went, I want to be a dinosaur person. Like that's the like it was
God, I wish
the classic trend of like growing up of like it always is there. You see Jurassic Park, you then think that's what you want to do, and then
Walking with Dinosaurs was the one for me, I must admit.
I loved Walking with Dinosaurs.
And Nigel Marven. Oh,
I forgot about that
man.
existing, and then I saw like there was like a poster of it, something somewhere, and I was like, all of these memories came back of him just like running away from things and just being like, and I was like, this is so camp but fantastic, and I love it so much. Like,
honestly, I mean, if I could just be Nigel Marven, I think I would die happy.
Yeah.
Like just running away from CG dinosaurs, great fun.
Yeah, just which is in reality just a man with like a tennis ball on a stick chasing after you. Like, go. No, it's fantastic. We'll dedicate that episode to him because that was a fantastic.
I will dedicate that to Nigel Marven, and I would just like to say thank you very much for inviting me on the podcast. I've had a blast. I was making a presentation about inland fisheries, which was really soul-sucking me. And it's quite late at night here because there's a time difference. And now I actually feel really regenerated. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to crush that inland fisheries presentation.
Yep, you're going to be up till
thank you.
4 a.m.
Oh, God. It's been a real delight speaking, and really nice to kind of put a what do you say over Zoom? Like a voice to a face, because I've been following you for quite some time now. It's lovely to finally chat.
Yeah, that's the thing. I knew your face from social media. I knew your voice. Now I've just put them together. So it's I don't know, but let's not think about that too much. Otherwise, it could get strange.
It gets a bit meta.
Yeah. We'll all start just having deep soul-searching journeys. But no, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. And like, I'll put all of the links for everything you just mentioned in the description of the episode, so everybody can go and like find all that, go and follow you. I'll put the links to all our social media down there as well because I'm
fantastic.
a great promoter. So you're following Robi, of course, follow at Pangolin Podcast and everything.
Of course.
Me, the only Jack Baker on. Where are they? Where am I? I'm on Instagram and Twitter and all over the place. And subscribe to the podcast and do all that magical stuff. Leave us a nice review. Do all that. It's wonderful.
To be fair, I have recently. I shall plug that as well. I've literally recently joined Twitter. I don't like social media, astonishingly, and I held out on social media on Twitter for a long time because I thought it's just going to be other people's opinions, which is going to make me even more annoyed. But I have looked the beast in the face and I've got it. So I am at wild_Robi on Twitter. I haven't posted anything yet, but that's the job for the end for the weekend.
Look at this. I'm gonna live on the podcast to show my dedication.
Oh wow!
What was it you said? Wild.
You could be tapping in anything at wild_Robi.
Robi. There we go.
I've got like 26 followers, I think. Maybe not even that. Maybe I follow 26 people. I don't know. I set it up like yesterday.
It's not coming up for me. I will follow it.
Well, I don't know how to use it.
I've just got one person who loves tattoos and is passionate about cars. Devil emoji. Purple devil emoji. So I don't think that's you.
That's not me.
Yeah,
no, I don't have tattoos and I'm not passionate about cars. I couldn't possibly comment on the aptitude of the purple devil emoji though.
No. And on that note, we must end because we'll be here for hours. So thank you so much, listeners, for being here listening to us ramble for a couple hours, but really interestingly ramble. So I'm so glad we did it. And thank you so much, Robi, again for being here. It's been fantastic to speak to you. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much for having you.
For having you.
Thank you very much for having me. Oh God, what was I saying?
And on that note, goodbye, everyone.
Bye.